Oh, hello. Let's turn the camera around. The cats must have been playing with the cables again. Good morning, and welcome to another live stream on this Thursday morning, March 21, in the year of our Lord 2024. We're coming to you live from beautiful downtown Crestline in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California's Inland Empire. I got my coffee, my tea, my water, my cigarettes, and my cats. Right, Patches? Silly little girl. Hello, Howard. Good morning. Okay. I still haven't mastered the art of talking and typing at the same time. It's morning. It's cold. We had 2 days in a row of sunny and not as cold weather, about 60 Fahrenheit. What is that in Celsius? 60 F2 C is 15 and a half. I don't like the metric system. Well, hi, at Sequentia. My chat room is filing in. And I don't know, not exactly sleepy, but tired from all the work I did yesterday. And the day before, I took the opportunity of dry weather to round up trash and clutter. Hi, Howard. And hi, Etsy Quintia. And anybody else who's just lurking. I often lurk in people's chat rooms. I read without ever posting. Mostly because I can't think of what to say. I should say hello, I guess. Right, Patches? Patches is the good kitty. She overdid it again. I let her out for, let's see, day before yesterday. And yesterday she was too gimpy to go outside. She's recovering, but so slowly. Yes. Come and say hi to your fans. Here's little Patches. She's a cutie. She's about half the size of her litter mates, so I guess she's the runt of the litter. She always has that weird look on her face. She looks like the good critter in Gremlins, that old movie. Yeah, I forget what they called the critters, but the critter jumped in the swimming pool and suddenly thousands of them popped out. Gizmo. Thank you, Howard. Yeah, but there was a name for the species of critters. Oh, Howard watched Man in the High Castle all the way through the Netflix series. You poor thing. I gave up at the beginning of this. Mogwai? Thank you, at Mogwai. Thank you, at Sequentia. I gave up at the beginning of the second season of Man in the High Castle. I simply could not watch all that brutality. And I can't imagine how people could do those things to any living creature. Yes, Howard, way too violent. Phil was exploring the psychology of those people, the Nazis and those who were just following orders. No, not really loyal to the book. The book didn't have those violent scenes. It was more intellectual and psychological. But it did have the man's ex-wife, taking over to some extent. But I think in the book she was a bad guy. I just can't remember the characters' names, but our main character, the man, was simply trying to sell things to make some money. His phony collectibles, uh, cheap knockoffs, but made to look like the real thing. It reminds me of Confessions of a Crap Artist, in which the main character, the narrator's job is I can't remember the term for it, but he take old tires and melt in grooves to make it look like it still had tread. Oh, re-grooving tires. Taking tires that were way past their prime and making them look new. Who knows? What is it? Every time I take a sip of whatever, my lips feel too wet. Oh well. Anyway, um, taken care of. I had to fill out a million forms and mail them in. Well, there's Freeman. Dragged yourself out of bed, eh? Lunar Sparkles. Welcome in, everyone. Anyway, Phil's books did have some violence, but not, it wasn't blood and guts in his books. It was the moral question. For example, when Deckard killed the androids, I hate it when I blank on a word. New York City's finest is here. Hello. Pocket Canyon, Lunar Sparkles. I don't know where that is. Gator in the road. A strip of just the rubber from the tire. Oh, you've been here, just weren't talking to me, huh? Oh, Guerneville. I know where Guerneville is. Up in Sonoma County. My oldest brother used to live up north. He was in Woodin Valley in Napa, and then he was in, come on, Glen Helen. See, around here there's a Glen Ellen. I keep forgetting which one starts with the H. And then he was briefly in Guerneville. My son's dog spent the end of her life with a dog lady in Oakville, which is like 3 or 4 houses surrounding one of the Mondavi brothers' finest uh, Cabernet grape orchards. And she would take my dog, put her in her clown costume, and give her a ride in the car, which Molly loved. And Molly would visit the veterans down in, I think it was Yountville. And she just loved to do that. Molly was such a sociable dog. She was mostly black lab with a little bit of German shepherd. Oh, yes, we were talking about how Patches looks like one of those nice critters from the movie Gremlins. So Etsy Quentia is talking about Mogwai, not to be confused with Mogwamp in Naked Lunch, a totally different creature. Near Boho Grove? Oh, that's interesting, Lunar Sparkles. Well, anyway, I'm just kind of easing into the chat because, in my own experience, I often miss the first few minutes of a show, and I don't want to rewind and stay behind, but I don't want to replay it later. So I kind of just ease into the meat of the matter. Oh, I am so frustrated. I should not have to depend on food stamps and Medicaid. I've worked all my life since high school. I've stocked vending machines. I've worked in factories. I've done office work. I've taught school all the way from first grade elementary to master's level courses at the university. I heard a car honk. Can't see a thing out the windows. I'm simmering water on the stove to add moisture to the air in my house because it's so dry, especially in winter, and it fogs up my windows. And then I think, oh, it's foggy outside. And then I go, oh, wait a minute. How was St. Patrick's Day? Well, I bought corned beef and cabbage, but I haven't cooked it yet. I managed to wangle a steak, a T-bone steak that was on sale for cheap. Cheap being only $10 instead of 20. So I ate that. Didn't go anywhere. Wasn't up to it. My back must be getting better. I was able to get a lot of things done in the past 2 days. Did a load of laundry, gathered up the trash that the critters scattered in my yard, um, did some decluttering in the house. But today my back is saying, hey, I'm done for a while. I gotta rest. The PKD convention Zoom meeting? I don't know. You mean in June in Oregon, Colorado? I went to the first two. Um, it's not really a convention, conference. I went to the first two conferences, then COVID hit. So I think I went in 2017 and 2019, but I really cannot go this time. Even if they paid for everything as they did before, I just can't physically. Tara, get your paws out of my stuff. Come say hello to your adoring fans. Little Tara got huge. She was such a little thing, and now she's huge. I think she must weigh 20 pounds. I gave you treats. You don't need anything else. Now let's move cigarettes, smoking kills. But I'm going to be 70 in 3 months. It hasn't killed me yet. Darn, you're out of treats, you rotten cat. Let's see, California Crunch with chicken and flavors of turkey. I don't eat Twinkies anymore. I used to like Ding Dongs, but they are not the same. Somehow I think they've made the cake too dry. I guess it doesn't spoil as fast if there's no moisture in it, but it's horrible texture. Either one will do on its own. Okay, I had a cigarette in my hand. Oh, here it is. I didn't light it yet. But yeah, I know what you meant, Freeman. We'll try to arrange a Zoom meeting. But right now they've got all kinds of things on their mind, not the least of which is the fundraiser, which in near the end of March is only halfway to the goal to make sure they can cover the expenses. They're not a money maker. They're not like the big conventions. They're all volunteers and so forth. Oh well, stock their plants in rural communities to and they're going to open up a great big plant in New York so they can hire asylum seekers. My favorite cheesecake. I'll have to learn how to make it at home. It looks good here. I mentioned. Yeah, I mentioned Tyson and the stream went down. Uh-huh. Their algorithm had to check what I was talking about and see whether they wanted to punish me. Uh-huh. We know how this works. I love Sara Lee cheesecake, but now I have to find some other place to get cheesecake or learn how to make it myself. sparkles. Oh, are you listening at a coffee shop or? Oh, they want to take away your copper wire landlines. Yeah. Here in Southern California, you can't get a landline. If you already have one, you can keep it, but they aren't making any new ones. Hmm. So no ballpark franks. No, well, I haven't eaten Tyson chicken in ages. You can tell the quality is in the dumpster anyway. It's because they abuse their chickens. What they do, my son had a friend from Alabama. He said his parents were raising Tyson chickens. Tyson just comes out, builds a chicken coop, fills it with chickens, and dumps a bunch of chicken feed and leaves. And they get paid to allow Tyson to do that, and all they have to do is feed the chickens once a day. Well, I hope nobody's messing with truckers who do deliver to New York. It's like, hey, they've got to make a living. They can't all engage in a boycott. Oh, Pat D, hello there, says, I bet that is company inspections. Yeah, putting the chicken coops on somebody's little property in the deep south. That could be it. Health inspectors, or whatever they call them, who inspect the livestock to make sure they aren't uh, selling diseased animals for people to eat. And I've always been able to tell that the quality chicken on the grocery store shelf just isn't there. I look for Foster Farms or, even better, a local farmer. Now, the local farmer can't take food stamps, but they don't cover all of my food anyway. So, there's been an ongoing battle for market share between Tyson and Foster Farms. Foster Farms costs more, but the quality is there. Yes, Freeman, it costs more to deliver to New York City. Freeman drives a big rig? You get points on your license, yeah. New York City, especially, they just love to write tickets. Yeah, they're trying to make us eat pollock because the cod fish have been overfished. Not by us, by ships from countries that don't care if they, fish out an entire species. Oh, Freeman says you gotta arranged for a transfer in Hoboken to the company truck. Oh, Freeman used to drive a truck. And I have so much respect for truck drivers. One time when I was stranded on a dark road, kind of in between, well, in walking distance of two prisons, one juvenile and the other a dairy farm where the adult prisoners worked, I was saved by a trucker. He didn't speak English, but my high school Spanish got me through. Yeah, frozen fish sticks. I tried the high-end Vandy Camp's uh, breaded fish because they said, but it was all bread with like a razor thin layer of fish inside. Couldn't taste the fish. Oh, Freeman says Rhode Island is worse. World's smallest cops write the biggest tickets. Truck drivers are awesome. Uh, if it's still lagging, try refreshing your screen. Lunar, what's VDK? Veterans something? Oh, Vandy Camp. Of course. All right. Your mother-in-law worked there during the Depression. My mom was too young to work during the Depression. But as that was ending, she got a job in a factory where what was it they made? I think they were just making bed sheets and curtains. She, ran a sewing machine. All she had to do was make straight seams, nothing fancy, no dresses. I haven't had, well, I had one ticket that I paid in 1980 because I was speeding. I had three other tickets in my entire life, and I went to court and won. But the one where I really was speeding, I paid it. California and a lot of farms, Lunar Sparkles. They're shoving out the family farmers so the big corporations can take over and Bill Gates can grow Frankenfoods. The Kern County around Bakersfield still grows California raisins. They grow the grapes and dry them in the sun, and they are good. You want to sing food, glorious food in Spanish? I don't think I can manage that. Food is probably manja, or is that Italian? Yeah, that's Italian. I can say I'm hungry. Tango hombre. Oh, it's hombre with an A, I think. Uh, you don't, in Spanish, you don't say I am hungry. You say I have hunger. California is not what it used to be. Um, we were poor because Dad broke his back and couldn't work until he. Hombre with an O is slang for a man. All right, let's check it. Say I'm hungry in Spanish. Yeah, it's hombre with an A. Tango hombre. Yeah, they many you see these companies aren't really original, and they look for the cheapest labor, the cheapest raw materials, and the most god awful working conditions. Anyway, let's see, I was 8 years old when, or was I 7? I turned, I think I was 7, almost 8 when Dad broke his back. And he tried to go back to work after a while, but he couldn't do it. I understand now. I had a much less serious broken back. I couldn't lift my purse to put the strap on my shoulder. And then he went back to college. He had taken a couple classes at the junior college, but this time he was serious, and he got his degree in accounting. But we my parents had to sell the house and move into a rental house that my grandfather owned. It was 1962 or 3. Let me think. God, yeah, it was 62. My timeline doesn't make sense. Talk about Mandela effect. Well, anyway, I turned 9 shortly after we moved. Let's see. That was the youngest that we could go to Girl Scout camp in the summer. And I remember going to Girl Scout camp even though I was still a brownie. We had our troop flew up around that time. You fly up from brownie to Girl Scout, only they don't call them brownies anymore. I forget what they do call them. And anyway, then 1963, I remember because they shot Kennedy, President Kennedy. I don't know who they are, but somebody shot him. And the Senate later ruled that there were at least 2 shooters. And they saw evidence that we are not allowed to see. It's classified. Uh, so during that about a 3-year period, we were especially poor. Yeah, I probably was dropped off here by aliens. I did not want to join that family, but they said I really had to. But they had to have my permission to put me here. I don't think they were aliens. They said they were God. An elderly version of Jesus. We called him grandfather. Anyway, at least the stork didn't bring me. So, but even then, every birthday, Granny would send me $10, which was like a small fortune in the early to mid 1960s. It was a lot of money. And we'd go shopping at Newberry, kind of the equivalent of Target, but much cheaper. Get a whole pound, 1 pound of Hershey's chocolate for $1, or a Nestle Crunch for 50 cents. Oh, there's lots of Twilight Zone episodes I can uh, think of at Sequentia. For some reason, I'm thinking of the one where she's really a mannequin and they take turns walking around in the human world before they have to go back and be mannequins again. The store mannequins that display the fashions. Oh, hi, Ditch. I keep forgetting. Tesseracts. My chat room. You're all tesseracts. Ah, anyway, then Dad finally got his license to be a CPA, a certified public accountant, and Mom still acted poor. She would mix up powdered non fat milk and mix it half and half with the milk that came from the store. And she made me do that. She made me mix up the powdered milk and combine it with the actual milk from the store. We hated that. And my brothers and I drank a lot of milk. But it was cheap. It was like 25 cents a gallon. And she had to save money on that. Oh, Lunar Sparkles, A Wrinkle in Time. I read that book when I was in junior high, I guess 8th grade. Amazing book. Oh, yeah, Twilight Zone and One Step Beyond. One Step Beyond scared me because that opening where they take control of your screen, that was something that would happen to a television back in the days of tubes when it was losing the signal. Oh, yeah. Freeman's thinking of the episode Something on Main Street. The aliens just caused the power to go wacky and people are panicking and looking for bomb shelters and then fighting over it. I don't know whether Christopher still likes Ovaltine, but I do. Chocolate malt flavor. Back in the Depression and World War II, Ovaltine tasted awful. I guess because of the vitamins in it. But it tastes pretty good these days. When I was a teenager, my favorite breakfast was bacon and a glass of instant breakfast, which was like Ovaltine, but then I switched to Ovaltine and I like it better. Hi, Angus. Good morning. One Step Beyond was scary because it was supposed to be true. And the scariest one is where the man turns into a wild cat, I think a leopard. And then he disappears, and a few weeks later, some hunters shoot and kill a leopard in a place where leopards don't live. Yes, Lunar Sparkles, the cabin. And you know how he turns into a leopard? He uses the I Ching. I rewatched it recently and I'm like, oh my God. Phil used the I Ching and he never turned into a leopard. I'm not sure if it didn't mean anything to me, when the Outer Limits was actually not in syndication, but actually the new series. I never heard of the I Ching until I met Phil. All right, I'm just going to make the chat roll up because I can't see through the heart icon. Oh, if you could turn into a leopard, you wouldn't tell your wife either. Freeman says, if you turn into a leopard, be smart, act like a house cat purr, and coax humans for food. Oh, Phil didn't use the straws, the swizzle sticks, lunar sparkles. He tossed coins, usually pennies, until somebody sent him some Chinese coins. Three pennies once. Yeah, Phil was really into Castaneda. Read 2 or 3 of Castaneda's books. And I started reading one, but I thought it was a bunch of hooey. Guess what? It was. He made the whole thing up. But it was apparently very convincing. His mentor, the native medicine man, didn't exist. Oh, Angus read the first Don Juan book. It was fun, but it stopped there. Angus didn't want to get more into it. Okay. Really? Castaneda had a cult that would meet in Royce Hall at UCLA and have seances? Well, his Don Juan didn't exist. Now, he was probably taking drugs and tripping, but well, I like his stuff. It isn't all that bad. It's at least entertaining, and it will educate you about certain mystical practices, but it never really happened. Kind of like that other book, On the Road, mostly made up with a few real incidents thrown in. Oh, yeah, Angus says Castaneda was a bit of a Svengali. Yep, he was in it for the money. Angus doesn't buy most of what Kerouac wrote. Well, my parents went through the Depression as children. My grandparents did pretty well because my grandfather was an engineer. So he was making $25 a month. Now, my other grandfather was a CPA and he was making $25 no, take that back, $50 a month. And he was healthy. Boy, talk about inflation. Oh, the Falcon is here. Good morning. Even in the 60s, our house payment was $23 a month. And then when we moved to Anaheim, that house was about $125 a month. Inflation. That was in 1965. And then when we moved to a brand new 5-bedroom house with an attached garage and a spacious loft and a huge kitchen and dining area, our payment was $335 a month. When Phil and I were renting little 2-bedroom apartments, they were about $200 a month. Well, the furnished apartment was $200. The unfurnished apartment was $150 a month. And then we rented a house. It was 3 bedrooms with a nice garden and stuff. Again, a spacious kitchen and dining room, but it was 1 story, no loft. $300 a month. Freeman's grandfather during the Depression unloaded liquor from the Black Duck. I don't know what the Black Duck is. Great grandparents were painters and always had money. Oh well. Now, $1 won't buy you a candy bar. And it used to buy 10 candy bars when I was a child. And the candy bars were bigger. That reminds me, I have to buy chocolate today. I've run out again. On network, the movie, yes, Falcon. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Chief. Oh, the Black Duck was an infamous rum runner boat, Freeman says. That could outrun the Coast Guard and was armored. A bunch of pirates. And, what do they call them? Something runners who would outsmart the revenuers and get the unlicensed liquor to the customers. Rum runners. Thank you, Ditch. Oh, wow. I think it's time to turn off. We have bootleggers. Runners and bootleggers. I have to turn off the stove. I think the pot of water I was simmering is getting too low. Ooh, Freeman says smugglers. I'll be right back. Hobble, hobble. Hi, Smokey Sue. Oh. Simmering water on the stove serves two purposes. It puts moisture into the air, which is very dry in winter, and it helps me to clean up the sides of the pot that got some kind of grease cooked onto them. I must have had the flame too high when I was frying something. Ridge runners? I don't know. I guess ridge runners would apply to that old TV show where the car was called the Colonel and Daisy wore short shorts and just good old boys, never meaning no harm. But what was the name of the show? I don't think the car was called the Colonel. It was the General. It was named after Robert E. Lee, I guess. Ditches on the wagon. No, I don't drink. I don't need to. Yeah, on land you're a ridge runner. Well, the rum runners might have been shipping the real thing from Cuba and other parts of the Caribbean. Good holiday too, where the lamps in the temple didn't run out of oil for 8 days. Hanukkah has 9 king or an emperor, I think a king, and this bad guy named Haman tried to get her. Is it her father or her grandfather or her uncle? Anyway, a really important Jewish guy. Haman tried to get him crucified for, basically for being too politically powerful and Jewish. But Haman, in the end, due to Queen Esther's efforts, Haman was hoist on his own petard. Hanukkah is when the lamps didn't run out of oil. Human. Anyway, your own part. The king could not take back the order to kill all the Jews, but he did, because of Esther, issue a second order that all the Jews could be armed and defend themselves. Jews were like third-class citizens. Okay, Purim commemorates the saving of the Jewish people from annihilation at the hands of an official of the Achaemenid Empire named Haman, as it is recounted in the book of Esther. And it was under the Persian king Ahasuerus. Anyway, the guy had many wives, and Esther was one of them, and she happened to be Jewish. Is there a real movie called Jews in Space? If not, there ought to be. One of my favorite movies is the one where I think it's like the History of the World Part 1. Yeah, Mel Brooks. Thank you, Freeman. Where he knew before I even mentioned the plot. I have now 15 crash, 10 commandments. Ditch watched Spaceballs and didn't like it. I haven't seen it. At the moment, I'm into murder mysteries. I'm even watching things I've seen before, like Nero Wolfe and Agatha Christie, but mostly the parodies, the hilariously funny parodies. Yeah, it is a very memorable scene. 10 Commandments. Oh, wow. Anyway. Lord. Yeah, Clue is good, but I can't watch it too many times. I get tired of them running around the house looking for the bad guy. Oh, dead men don't wear plaid. I know I've seen that, but I can't remember anything about it. I'll have to watch it again. Oh, I'll have to check out the YouTube channel, The Rabbi from Outer Space. Dedicated fan of Doctor Who, talks about the horrible things they have done to the show. Yeah, I quit watching it with the most recent Doctor. I've always wanted a female doctor, but this wasn't the right woman. Oh, it's the rabbi from another planet, not outer space. The rabbi from another planet. Yeah, where's my TARDIS anyway? I can't find it. I thought, isn't the new Doctor black? That I might watch, even if he is gay. But I suspect they are not writing good stories. By the way, my oldest brother was gay, and he was an unhappy man, drank himself to death. I did see a clip about how Doctor Who, why do I forget his name? One of my favorite actors, and I can't remember his name. But for some reason, he split in half, and there were two of them. And they delayed. They just aren't telling good stories about the original script, Blade Runner. Oh, it'll get by on special effects. Phil wasn't having it. No, not Tom Baker. He is my favorite. The most recent Doctor before they put in the woman. Okay, what was I going to search for? Oh. Ridley Scott actually claimed that Blade Runner would get by on special effects. There's a movie called 8.5, huh? Never heard of it. Okay. And my keyboard makes typos all the time. It hates me. They're making a sequel to Gladiator. They're making another Blade Runner movie, too. And Denis Villeneuve says now it was a big mistake for him to do Blade Runner. No kidding. No disrespect to him. He's a great director, but he was not the right director for that movie. He just wasn't. All right, let me see. I know I don't have chocolate, but I do have Junior Mints. And I do have coffee breath, so I need my Junior Mints. Quinta says, I assume he's talking about Doctor Who. It now contains sexual references. I always click it says my again. Oh dear. Ridley Scott has made some great movies, but not only because he can choose the best people. I really don't think he's good at anything he does. He just The one thing he's good at is hiring good people who can do a good job. Yeah, Freeman, you would not like my coffee breath. Oh, Lord. Yeah, Verizon is evil and YouTube is evil. Oh, God. Caught hair all over me. I've been airing out the house. I'll have to vacuum the rug and stuff like that. Well, some of you can hear me and some cannot. That's a shame. And it's really getting toward time to sign off anyway. I should try to come back at night. Hang on while I check something. Oh, my muscles are stiff. My signal isn't the but it's solid. So sorry about the lag and everything. I can't do anything about it, but I think Verizon and YouTube are playing games. They don't want me to talk about the truth. I've been on for an hour and a quarter, Freeman. Oh. It's if I mention certain companies or issues, YouTube always pulls this. Their algorithm hates me. Let's see. I'm going to. No, trademark fair use, Lunar says. Oh, algorithm. The algorithm is too stupid to hate. Well, see, if the algorithm sees a certain word or phrase, it tells a human to take a look, and then they kind of reduce the strength of my signal while they look it up. And I've heard much more amazing things on other YouTube channels that would get me banned if I said them. I hate having to hold back and not say what I really mean. Yeah, AI. AI. I kind of appreciate when they have an AI voice reading a book aloud, but I can tell it's AI. For example, an episode of Poirot in which the road wound through the forest. The voice reading the book says, the road wound through the forest. I don't think that's a British accent. I think it's a mistake. But one of my books is now available as an audiobook read by AI on Amazon and Audible. It's my collection of stories and poems. Yeah, that's what I'd like to know. At Sequentia, why did they make the lowercase l look exactly like uppercase I? It's called sans serif. When they take away the serifs, the extra little doodles at the top and bottom, it's hard to tell whether it's an L or an I. Well, in many old manuscripts, like around Shakespeare's time, the letter S and the letter F could be identical. Not always. Sometimes the S like our modern S, but quite often it looked like F as in Frank instead of S as in signal. Oh, we're not allowed to say algorithm, so now we have to say uniblab from the Jetsons. They'll figure that one out too. Yeah, if somebody gets up, okay. My back is unhappy today. Lost of signal. Am I back on? Because the cat was sitting on it. Cats. Oh, you gotta see Tora if there's enough light. She's all curled up in the sunshine coming in through the window. And Patches is just being a little sphinx. Yeah, that's the sphinx in Egypt. What? Oh, you guys. Smokey Sue, you be nice. Smokey's beating up Tutu. I only interfere severely when she jumps on Patches because Patches is half her size. Tora's being cute. Anyway. Cat hair. You cats, you're bad. Leave me alone. You ate all the treats. Yeah, I think cats do meditate. And they'll sit in your lap and make you meditate too. won't they? Tora got so huge. Ditch, they are not plotting my demise because I'm the source of all things edible. Now, if cats were able to open a can of tuna, I'd be doomed. But they can't. All right, okay. I have nothing to talk about. Actually, I have lots, but I can't think of anything. Oh, they want more lasagna? Well, I guess Garfield likes lasagna, but my cats go, ew, tomato sauce. Never mind. They'll eat the cheese off the top and then leave the rest. I think I talked about this last week and probably other times as well, but since you brought up lasagna, I go with the store-bought lasagna noodles because I don't have the skills or the kitchen space to make noodles. And I think they work just fine as long as you get a good brand and not the cheap stuff. And I just don't like the kind that says you don't have to cook it, just put it in there, and it doesn't turn out well for me. But, Mom knew so little about cooking. I start with, in French they call it mirepoix, and I probably pronounced it wrong. In Spanish and Italian, they cooking chefs call it the three sisters: onions, carrots, and celery. You put a little oil in the pan and add the chopped onions. And after about 1 minute, you add the carrots and celery, stirring occasionally, just on low heat. You get them to give up the water inside, and so that there's less water and more flavor. Now, they say you don't really want to let them burn, but there's something about onions when they've turned a dark brown that I really like. In any case, they all taste sweeter when you've done this for between 5 and 10 minutes. Mom never did that. She'd crumble up some hamburger in the frying pan, pour in tomato sauce, and then pour in some chopped onions. And let me tell you, boiled onions can't hold a candle to the ones you've fried. It not only releases the water, it also makes the onions sweet. Anyway, you get the sofrito, the three sisters, the mirepoix cooked, and then you put in tomatoes. And I've learned from more than one YouTube chef, canned tomatoes are the good stuff. They can the ripest, sweetest, most flavorful tomatoes because they won't survive being shipped to your local grocery store. They aren't firm enough. So, can of tomatoes. Oh, first though, before I do that, I forgot. First, you put in the hamburger or other chopped meat. I generally use 1 pound of hamburger. What's it called? Ground beef, and half a pound of sausage. And I get the cheap Farmer John brand because it's mild and I don't want a lot of spices. Now, Jimmy Dean happens to be spicy sausage, if you like that, but it's made by Tyson. So you can take any kind of sausage. Italian sausage is recommended since lasagna is Italian, but I don't care for that spice mix. But just get some ground sausage, ground pork, and season it yourself if you have a favorite seasoning. I've tried making my own mixes. I'm not that good at it, so I'll get a spice mix. Anyway, so once the hamburger meat is also browned, it doesn't have to be completely cooked because you're going to bake the lasagna, but you want it to quit being red. And if you cook it too late, it'll dry out. Now, being American, I like to add garlic uh, after the sofrito and before the beef, but because it garlic will be cooked in 30 seconds to 1 minute. When you smell it, it gets bitter. So anyway, when you're ready, when it's good enough, cooked enough, and dry enough, then you put in your can of tomatoes. And if you think it's needs more liquid tomato sauce, canned or homemade, whatever. If you think it's too liquidy, use tomato paste. Hey, Jason, aka Cave. um. So anyway, do your meat mixture the way you like it. It's your food, and you'll be eating it. This is just how I do it, and I keep screwing it up. Anyway, when it's um at the consistency that you want, not too liquidy and not too thick, put it aside. You want it to cool down a little before you put it in your great big lasagna pan. That's when you grate the cheese, and please don't buy the bags of grated cheese. They have other stuff in them. Sometimes it's just cornstarch. Sometimes it's what they call cellulose, which is made from wood, sawdust. uh, but I'm not against eating that stuff. It won't harm you. But the consistency has changed. It isn't right. So, anyway, now this is where you save money. Now, you'd save a lot of money if you did like the Italians and used a bechamel sauce, which is basically some milk and some flour, cooked, of course. But I use cottage cheese. So I put down a layer of the meat sauce in the pan and then a layer of noodles. And then a layer of cottage cheese, which is much cheaper than ricotta, which many chefs like to use, at least here in America. And then more sauce and more noodles. More cottage cheese, more sauce, more noodles. That's probably as many layers as I'm going to have. But at the topmost layer, before I put the noodles on, I put in some grated Jack cheese, Monterey Jack. It's much cheaper than mozzarella. And most of your people won't know this when they taste it. And then put the noodles on and then sprinkle it with more grated Jack cheese. Ditch says Parmesan. Parmesan is crap. The green shaker can. It isn't real Parmigiano Reggiano as all the. Sorry, Vincenzo, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Sorry, Chef James Makinson, I'm messing it up. But the stuff in the shaker can, first of all, is not Parmigiano because it isn't from Parma in Italy. Second, yeah, it has contaminants in it. Probably much worse than your bag of grated cheese because it's all dried out and stuff and got chemicals. I don't care for it. I think it's nasty and bitter. But you can get a reasonable facsimile of Parmigiano. It isn't made in Parma, but it's actual cheese. It usually comes in a plastic tub and it's already either sliced or grated. I like to get the small thin slices and put that on top of the grated Jack cheese on the very top of the lasagna. And if you want more cheese inside, God bless you, put more cheese inside. But I save the Parmigiano, the reasonable facsimile, for the absolute top. And by the way, while you're making your meat sauce, salt to taste. Salt and black pepper, however much tastes good to you. But since I add sausage, I probably don't need much. Pork sausage is salty. Might not have black pepper. It depends upon what kind of sausage you're using. And if you don't eat pork, there's turkey sausage, or you could leave it out. The Falcon had buttered noodles with onion and cottage cheese for dinner, and it was good. Huh, that sounds interesting. Now, me, I go for sour cream on almost everything, but not on my lasagna. I will have to start doing cooking videos. The thing is, I'm still looking for someone I can afford to pay to fix the kitchen drain. I've been working on it myself, but I'm not making a lot of progress. I don't know how it got clogged. In 20 years that I've had this house, it's never clogged before. So I don't know what's going on this year, unless the outside drain has backed up. Because I share the drain, I share that particular drain with two other buildings. One is a home and the other is a gas station. Oh, Freeman is thinking of Welcome Back, Cotter, and the song at the end. Welcome back to the same old place that you laughed about. You escaped and now you're back. Welcome back. Yeah. Oh, Ditch says, remember, if you make a cooking channel on YouTube, you can measure your success by how many Italians are yelling at you in the comments. farm, swear by its quality if he meant the slang meaning. Ditch says, "Hiya." That's what Uncle Roger will say if he sees me cooking. I'm going to have to say, "Sorry, Uncle Roger. This is American fried rice."